Now that we've got our SealedTunnel configuration set up and available, the next step for us is to install the ST-Link software on our exit point or server and our entry point or client. So let's go ahead and start out by signing into the management portal. Now the reason we're going to sign in here is just so that we can download the ST-Link files. So I'll go ahead and enter my credentials and sign into the management portal. We're pretty familiar with this dashboard by this point, so we'll go down to the Downloads tab right here. We'll locate the ST-Link Windows installer and we'll go ahead and download that. After the download finishes, then we can go ahead and start installing our first ST-Link. Now we're going to start with the exit point first, so we're on our domain controller right now. And we're going to go ahead and sign into our agent configuration portal. Now the reason for this is because we need the SealedTunnel exit point code that's available on the exit point we created earlier. So let's go ahead and run the installer for the ST-Link, and we'll go ahead and move through those prompts one by one. Make sure to agree to the licensing agreement. And then once we finish up with this installation, then we'll be presented with the exact same familiar command prompt that we have gotten so used to by this point, and it's going to ask us again for that agent configuration code. So we'll go and hit that green button right there to copy the exit point ST-Link code and paste that in here. And then it'll take a few more seconds for it to configure the ST-Link and get it spun up and running. But as soon as it's done running, then we'll have that fully complete and installed. Now I like to go in and hit the refresh button right here so I can verify that it's now initialized and online, and that means we're all good to go here. So the next step, I'm going to copy this ST-Link setup. You can also go over to your other machine itself and download it from the management portal if you'd like, or you can just copy it over like I'm doing right here. After the file transfer finishes and completes, then we're ready to install our second ST-Link on the client side. So we'll go ahead and run the installer again, move through those exact same prompts one by one, and as soon as we get done, we're going to be presented with that exact same command prompt as well, and prompting us again for our agent configuration code. Now in this case, we're installing the entry point, so we're going to come back over to our configuration portal over here. We're going to select the entry points tab, locate our entry point we created earlier, and click that green copy button. So we'll come back over to our client side VM and we'll paste that in, and we'll wait for it to spin up as well. And then of course, after we're done with the installation process, I always like to go into the configuration portal just to validate that the the ST-Link was successfully installed and available and ready to go. So now we're all ready to test our applications. Now that we've got all of our configurations done and everything's fully set up, let's take a look at what the SealedTunnel will look like from an end user perspective. So let's start out, and we're just going to connect to a SealedTunnel connection through RDP just through standalone SealedTunnel. What that means is we always have the SealedTunnel ports and loopback addresses available for us, so all we need to do is connect to that RDP instance using that. So looking right here, we're connecting to 127.0.0.1 port 38. And we'll go ahead and hit the connect button from here. So after, of course, we start connecting, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to prompt us for our Windows credentials for that machine. So we'll go ahead and enter in our local credentials for that specific Windows server, and then we'll go ahead and hit OK and sign in. So from here you can see we're signed into the domain controller through the loopback address at the top. If we reference over here, we'll see our connection that we set up in our mappings for 127.0.0.1.38. So that's what we're connected to right now. So that's an example of just the standalone SealedTunnel and how you can connect to instances immediately just by using that standalone functionality. So next what we're going to do is we're going to open a new browser in our RDP instance, and we're going to go ahead and go to 127.0.0.1. And we're going to leave that blank, and the reason is because we're going to automatically pick up port 443 in the browser, because that's what the browser is going to use in order to connect to an HTTPS connection. So in this case, we're connecting to the agent configuration portal, and you can see the familiar login screen here. Here's our dashboard that we're very familiar with. Now all of this is only available through the loopback address on the domain controller, but we're able to access it through a browser through the loopback address through the SealedTunnel. So we can look right here in our mappings and see, yep, 127.0.0.1 port 443 is our mapping for the configuration portal, and that's what we're connected to in our browser. So any browser connections that you want to establish, we always recommend using port 443 on the entry point to make it a little easier to connect. So our third example is going to be through the single sign-on portal. Now, the first thing we're going to do is log into the management portal so that we can get the URL for our single sign-on portal. So once we log in, you'll see on our familiar management portal dashboard, there's this SSO portal link right here. So let's go ahead and click this link so we open up our SSO portal. Now you'll notice immediately it takes us to the home SSO portal. You can see that in the URL right here. We're going to go ahead and change home to example, because that's the examples SSO portal that we set up in earlier configurations. So now that we're on the example SSO portal, we're ready to go ahead and log in. The first thing we're going to do is bind our security profile credentials to our Exotic Authenticator app. Now how we do that is we first start by entering the full UPN of the username in our Active Directory, and then we'll enter the password for that user from our Active Directory as well. Now in the case of Exotic, this is the only time you'll ever enter a username and password again, so this will just be once. So from here, we'll enter an email address for a recovery email that we're going to use in case we lose our phone or we lose access to our app, or for whatever reason we lose our security profiles. After we receive that email, we'll have a one-time password in there to verify the email address. So we'll go ahead and enter that one-time password into the OTP field right here, just like this, and then we'll go ahead and hit enroll. So now that our enrollment is done, the last step for us to do is bind the credentials to our Exotic app. In order to do that, all we do is we open up our Exotic app, we hit the plus button in the app to add a new security profile, and then we scan that QR code that's available on the screen right there. And you'll see at the bottom I get a safe second factor authentication reset link in my email. So now I have that available in case I need to reset my credentials if I lose my phone or something. So now that we're here, we're able to scan the QR code right here on the single sign-on portal that rotates at the bottom, and from there we'll automatically sign in. You'll see the code very quickly injected into there, and then we're logged into the SSO portal. So moving forward, that's going to be our method of logging into the SSO portal all the time. We just open the app, scan the QR code, and we're good to go.